This is KPRN-DB, broadcasting worldwide from Southeast Oklahoma, USA, to parts unknown.
Hey preppers, James Smith here. I've got a new advertiser to tell you about. It is ultimatepreppers.net. There's a couple brothers out of the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area that have this website. It's chock full of everything you need and at a decent price. Let me tell you, they've got a Mayday fanny pack kit for less than $30, a Guide 10 Plus Adventure Kit for solar power, 5-man tent for $89, tomahawks, GPS, go bags, so much more. Take a look at it. Freeze-dried food, supplies, you wouldn't believe it. Now, they also sell guns online, and they also have military surplus items. Now, new items are being added daily. If you order more than $100, items are shipped free. Now, they also do take PayPal, so take a look at it. It's ultimatepreppers.net. That's ultimatepreppers, that's plural, .net.
Don't get caught with your pantry down. Try the most delicious Just Add Water storable food from Go Foods. No GMOs, no preservatives, no trans fats, no hydrogenated oils, and a 25-year shelf life. Enjoy it today and save money. Share it with others and earn money. Store it for the future and invest your money. You can't find better food for less anywhere. Made in the USA and guaranteed 100%. Plus, try it for free and decide for yourself at www.lovegofoods.com. To try it for free, go to www.lovegofoods.com. That's www.lovegofoods.com.
Feeling like there are too many pressures and demands on you? Losing sleep worrying about tests and schoolwork? Eating on the run because your schedule is just too busy? You may be under too much stress, and it may be affecting your mind. Get your mental edge back with Nootropic Mind Power from mindregard.com. Nootropic Mind Power is not a drug, but a natural supplement. Its 12 powerful ingredients are natural and non-GMO, plus it's gluten-free, wheat-free, and formulated by Americans for Americans by an NSF-certified laboratory. Nootropic Mind Power is available at mindregard.com, spelled MINDREGARD.com, and comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. Free your mind with Nootropic Mind Power Cognitive Supplement from mindregard.com. MindRegard. Clearly see tomorrow and yesterday. Today.
Are you storing food? Many preppers are storing food for months and years, but only have enough fuel stored for days or weeks. Stretch your fuel storage by harnessing the power of the sun with a sun oven. Food can be baked, boiled, or steamed at temperatures of 360 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit with the power of the sun. Depending on where you are located, you can use the sun for 50 to 80% of your cooking, allowing you to preserve your fuel storage for rainy days. Sun-baked foods stay moister and have less shrinkage and don't burn. Sun-baked roasts are tastier and more succulent, and sun-baked bread has unparalleled taste and texture. Water can be heated in a sun oven for purification or personal hygiene. For the past 25 years, sun ovens have been proudly made in the U.S. They are durable, have a long life, and come with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. For a discount coupon, email podcast@sunoven.com. That's podcast@sunoven.com.
The truth is out there. Knowledge is power. This is the Prepper Podcast Radio Network.
Coming to you from the foothills of the Sheep Mountain Range and under the watchful eye of Mount Charleston, 11,916 feet above the desert floor, I bring you Homestead Dividends, a podcast rooted in common sense and practical knowledge. Today's episode is episode 166, coming to you the 18th of January 2013. Today's working episode title will be Media Matters, also sometimes on my show known as Keeping Up With My Tweets. If you've been to my website, hdivs.com, you would know that I'm pretty active on Twitter, and I tweet out a lot of articles for people. And so today I just wanted to take some time to just catch up on some things on the media, and just talk with you about them today. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already doing something right, because something's definitely wrong with my iTunes feed. It's been on the blink for a month now, and I just became aware of the situation a few weeks ago, and I've been working on it. And I didn't change anything or do anything, but all of a sudden now, and this has happened to other people on iTunes. One minute their feed, their iTunes account's just fine, and the next minute everything blows up. And the way iTunes works is you don't really contact anyone. You just kind of submit stuff to them, to their computers, and it kind of works its way through, or it doesn't. And so I'm kind of in this limbo because there's no one I can talk to. There's no help desk or tech support to fix the problem. And I'm just kind of at Apple's mercy to try and get this thing fixed. So I'm sorry about that. But to my people on the Prepper Podcast Network, thank you. If you want to check out my website, go to hdivs.com, and that's the best way to get my podcast feed, other than from the Prepper Podcast Network. And also, while you're at my website, click on the RSS feed and subscribe to it. RSS just means really simple syndication, and all that means is anytime I do a new podcast or add some material to my website, it'll come up and it'll notify you, and that's all it is. And until I get this iTunes thing fixed, that's the only way really to really stay up to date, other than visit here every day, which I certainly recommend too. Come to my website every day. Come 10 times a day. Tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe, as I like to say. So tune into my my show. Tune into my website. Tell people about what I'm doing over here. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, anyone in the prepping or homesteading or do-it-yourself community. Let them know what we're doing over here, and subscribe. Get involved in my website. Get involved in my forum, and make yourself at home. My website is small enough that if you send me an email, and my email address is homesteaddividends@gmail.com, I return them. If you want your email heard on the air, it'll happen if you want me to. If you want me to do it. There are other podcasts, that have so many listeners that, they don't even guarantee that, they'll really read everything, or, you'll get a fair hearing. My podcast is growing by leaps and bounds, and I'm thrilled by that, but it's still small enough that you can be an integral part of my community. If you want to get in on the ground floor of a great podcast and a great community, if you would like to someday be a leader on my community, this is one to get involved in. In fact, members of the Founding 50 are my moderators on my forum. I just emailed a couple people who are just rock solid, awesome people, and you said, "Hey, you guys would you like to be moderators?" And I pretty much left it out there, and they contacted me about it, and they're moderators, and they're leaders on my community, and I always have room for more leaders and for leadership. If you want to get your feet wet with running a podcast and getting involved, let me know, and don't worry, I can put you to work, and I'd love to see what you can do. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to my show and tuning in and checking out my blog. It's not easy to give up some of your time for someone else, and the fact that you spend time with me every week, or if you're new, a first time, thank you so much for taking a few minutes and giving me your time, something very valuable to you, and listening to my podcast or visiting my blog, or both. Thank you so very much. It's so I'm so blessed, and it's such an honor that you guys, and you hardly even know me, would take time and think highly enough of me to spend some of your valuable time with me. Thank you, and I'm honored. Okay, I don't want to go overboard here with this, but I wanted to make sure it sounds sincere because it is. But thank you. That means a lot to me. Okay, so today's show, this is take number 2. I got so enraged as I talked about some of the topics before that I actually kind of lost my head, and I said, you know what, I can't really edit this. I'm just going to go back and redo it. And so I don't mean to alarm anyone, but I was pretty heated as I talk about a couple things. I'll try and do it a little more dispassionately this time, and with a little bit of cooler head. But okay, today's episode, Media Matters. Let's just jump in and get started. Okay, so one article, and if you've seen my presence on Twitter, you know I do a lot of tweeting. One of the things that I talked about was Obama uses executive orders to fight gun violence, and he pushed through 23 reforms in the gun ban. And there are a lot of things that he couldn't do because they require, legislative action. But pretty much just more background checks, more this, more that, which, I have no problem with background checks. But here's the deal. It's hypocritical to say, guns are the problem. We need to get guns out of school. When you send your child to a school with 12 armed guards plus the special service detail in Washington, D.C., a place where you're not allowed to have guns. But, of course, special guards and VIPs and elites have special treatment. So while, it's a bad idea and it's evil for regular schools to have armed guards, and that would be dumb, in his opinion, the fact is that he sends his kids to school where they already had private guards with guns in Washington, D.C. Now, another elite from the media who sends his kids to that same school was brandishing a high-capacity semi-auto gun magazine that, one of those little clips that holds all the bullets in it. I know that's not the correct term. Gun guys deal with it. And the D.C. police said, that they're not going to prosecute him or whatever. You try brandishing a high-capacity, AK-47 or SKS magazine, a clip, in a place where it's prohibited, and you see if you go to jail. Okay, it's interesting that elites always get special privileges that us regular people who they make the laws for, and they know better than us, so they protect us because they really know what's right because they're big father, big daddy, and they know. So you're just a dumb little child. Mommy and daddy know better, so you just listen to mommy and daddy, and they'll take care of you. That's how I see the elites and the people in power. They know better. Now, they don't follow those rules, but they know what's best for us, so they'll tell us what to do. And, of course, one of the reforms that wasn't mentioned is to stop giving semi-automatic weapons to illegal drug lords on the Mexican border. If you're familiar with Fast and Furious, some stupid Eric Holder program where we give semi-automatic weapons to drug dealers, Mexican drug lords, and then do nothing. It's not like we waited till they got the guns and then said, aha, you're in possession of these guns, you're going to jail. No, we just said, okay. Oh, wow, they got the guns. Wow, isn't that cool? Okay, everybody, time to go home. Party's over. And then we didn't do anything. So that doesn't make much sense to me. Unless, of course, the idea was to try and get a gun ban in the United States and you're just trying to put guns in the hands of other people and to make, a case for banning guns. No, that couldn't happen. We're not trying to, we are trying to ban guns now in our country. Semi-automatic weapons, the same kind they were giving to drug lords. I don't know. Does that sound a little bit strange to you? Interesting. And then, of course, violent films and video games, some people would argue have a place in the talk about violence because, well, we're a violent culture. There's all these violent films and violent video games, of course, controlled by the industries controlled by the liberal elites. But, we didn't have any bans or any warnings on violent video games. Couldn't be because those films and those violent video games or the people that own those companies write big checks to President Obama and that Hollywood, is his best friend. That couldn't be it, could it? Nah, couldn't be. Another article that I linked to, China is the world's #1 prepper. China is stockpiling food, gold, and everything they can to prepare for, tough times ahead. And, the story, which is on my website, and I believe it was put together by a group. Part of their title is Caspian, and I don't have it in front of me right this very second here. I'll find it for you. Caspian Report. Caspian Report. Anyway, so Caspian Report makes the case in their video that I have a link to that China is an economic superpower, but it won't be a military superpower because it's surrounded by too many countries with disparate beliefs and values, and that's going to keep them in check. And, I thought a lot of the stuff in the article was interesting in the video, and that's why I shared it with you, but I couldn't disagree more. They have, multi-million-man army, naval power, nuclear power. When you have the world's largest, or second and soon to be world's largest economic power, you have some power, and you can wield some power, and they are our biggest threat, other than largest established. Let's put it that way. These kind of non-governmental wackadoos, Al Qaeda and other organizations, terror organizations, and the like, that aren't really based on a country but just on a belief system, and are kind of in the shadows. I mean, that's obviously our number one threat. But as far as countries go, I think China is long-term our biggest threat. Do I think they're going to attack tomorrow? No. But at the same time, is it good to be owing them trillions of dollars? And what if they said, well, United States, pay up. Well, we don't have the money. Okay, then we'll just take, then you're going to just look the other way when we invade Taiwan. Or we're going to invade Japan, and you're not going to do a thing about it. Or, you know what? You owe us. We want Hawaii. Or we want Alaska. Oh, you don't think we deserve that? Well, then pay up. Oh, you don't have any money? Well, you got to give us something. Thank you, Hawaii. Thank you, United States. We'll take Hawaii. And I know that's far-fetched, but the point is, when you owe people money, they're kind of in control, and that's a dangerous thing to be in. But, of course, our genius president, who keeps putting us deeper and deeper in debt, doesn't seem to care about that. And to the extent, there was an article that mentions President Obama doesn't think that we're a deadbeat nation. He says, the issue here is whether or not America pays its bills. We are not a deadbeat nation. There's a very simple solution to this. Congress authorizes us to pay our bills. There's also this thing called money we need to have, Mr. President. And I know you've never had a real job, so you don't understand how the economy works. But, you don't just say, okay, this isn't monopoly money you just make up or, print on a photocopier. At some point there has to be something behind that money. It has to exist. You can't just keep printing money. Now, if the House and Senate want to give me the authority so they do not have to take these tough votes, if they want to put the responsibility on me to raise the debt ceiling, I am happy to take it. Oh, I bet you are. There's nothing make you happier than raise the debt ceiling so that you can put us $2 quadrillion in debt every year. If you could spend $1 billion and put everyone in a McMansion, I'm sure you would do it, because you know what? Everybody needs an Obama phone. Everybody's entitled to everything. And you know what? Those poor, evil people who, work for a living and pay taxes, shame on you. You need to give more. Okay? So, you know what I think about this president. And, it's not just this president. George W. Bush, who put us in 2 garbage wars in the Middle East with countries that hate us. And we've rooted out some problems. But if you think long-term that, things are going to get better, just think of it this way. The United States is like a substitute teacher in a classroom. Things are barely under control. That teacher's barely holding on. And then that teacher walks out of that door for a minute and comes back in, and there's a riot in his class. You know why? Nature abhors a vacuum. Abhor means hate. Nature hates a vacuum. That vacuum is absorbed by something else, and guess what? The minute we leave, whether it's in a day or 100 years, that vacuum that the United States, created by our leaving, will be taken up by the Islamists and the fringe groups and the bad guys. And all those trillions of dollars that we've spent in these countries nation building, which of course our governments always promise, we're not going to nation build. It's all going to be wasted. And what do we have to show for it? Nothing. And it makes me sick. The amount of money that we spend in these BS wars makes me very, very sad. The money we spend on these garbage programs, the money we spend in aid to foreign countries, all this money we spend, period, makes me sick. And, folks, we don't have a president with a backbone, or really the intellect, I think, financially. He might be a very smart man, and obviously he is a Harvard, lawyer. He doesn't have the intellect economically to do the right thing, or he doesn't care to. It's one of the two things. Either he's invariably stupid when it comes to economics, or he really doesn't care that he hurts our country and destroys us and bankrupts us because he has a greater liberal agenda that really doesn't depend on making our country financially, viable anymore. So either he doesn't care and he's ruining our country, or he's dumb and ruining our country. Either way, he's ruining our country, as is the Congress, as is the Senate, as was George W. Bush. You know, these people have done wonders destroying our country, and shame on them. Shame on them. We put these people in the office, and we have very, very little good to show for the years and time that they've put in office. Of course, they all do well. Some of them come in, you know, relatively poor, and pretty much all these congressmen and senators retire millionaires. That's a pretty neat trick. Okay, the next article I kind of linked to, I put up 3 videos about Mo's and Nagants. And if you've heard my podcast, and you've probably heard, I don't know, Jack Spreaker's and some other people's that are always mentioning Mo's and Nagants. I don't really mention it too much, but I know a lot of other people do. That's a great entry-level or gateway rifle, and it kind of fits a lot of purposes. It's kind of similar to a 30-06, I guess, in power. It's an old military rifle. There's about 17 million of them in the world, or 17 million of them existed at one time, were made. Mostly Russian. There's Chinese ones. There's Scandinavian ones. There's, you know, ones from the Eastern Bloc countries. And they were essentially the, what was it? The 1890 they were created, and then in 1930 they were kind of redesigned, or, what are they called? Like the 8130 or 9130, something. I think it was like the 9130, I think is what they're referred to. I'm not a gun guy, so please bear with me. But anyway, in 1930 they kind of retooled them a little bit, and you know, they were making them for a long time. And anyway, there's a lot of them out there, and they used to say you can get them for $100. You can double that now. On rare occasions, you can get them for $125 or $130. Most of them sell in the $170s to $200 range. A sniper version of it will run you $500 to $600, and I don't know what you can get it for at a gun show, but I think the days of the $100 Mo's and Nagant are gone. They're still relatively cheap, but there are some issues here. If you think you're just going to buy this gun, take it out of the box, or if you're lucky enough to get a box to take it out of the gun store with, and take it home and shoot it, not going to happen. Most of them are covered in this preservative called cosmoline, and it's essentially, just think of like a big pile of like Vaseline or grease that's made for preserving rifles, which is great. I mean, it preserves them, but you know, it's the wood stocks are all covered with them, so all that stuff's absorbed into the wood. So you get this greasy rifle. The actions, while they work, they're not in a condition to fire. It could be dangerous. They're not in a condition to work. You have to, first of all, you have to strip them down, which means you have to take all the metal away from the wooden stock, soak them all in a degreasing substance, and many people use different things, everything from degreaser and simple grain. Some people use, I don't know, paint thinner. Whatever it is you use, you have to be able to take that gun apart, strip it down to its smallest parts, and put it back together again. If you're not willing to do that, you're not willing to buy a Mo's and Nagant, and you shouldn't get one, because this isn't a project for the faint of heart. Okay. The same thing with other, rifles like an SKS or whatever. A lot of those are coming from third world countries, and they're packed in cosmoline. And that's a tough first gun. A cleaned Mo's and Nagant is a great first gun if you've already had someone strip it and take the cosmoline out, because the ammunition, you can get like 880 rounds for like $200. It's pretty insane how cheap the ammo is for it. That's the military surplus while it still exists. Oh, that's probably running thin too, because you can't even get a Mo's and Nagant. I'm on a waiting list for a Mo's and Nagant from around Thanksgiving. There was a Black Friday sale, and this one sporting goods store had Mo's and Nagants for $109. There was one in the store that was broken, and the guy said, "I'll put you on a waiting list, and when they come in, I'll let you know." That was Black Friday, guys. It's 2013, and it's almost February, and no Mo's and Nagant. So they're hard to come by anymore. But anyway, they're a great first rifle if you're willing to put in the time and effort, because the ammo's cheap. They're relatively inexpensive. But you better know how to deal with cosmoline and tear a gun apart, put it back together, and all that good stuff. And it's not an easy task. And the other thing is it fires mostly corrosive ammo. and the ammunition gives off these salts that, if they stay in the barrel, will corrode and rust the gun. So after you're done with it, you have to clean it out, and just another thing to add to it. And you have to do some research on these. And those 3 videos tell you a lot, and a lot more than I could ever know about the gun. But I know that people talk about the Mosin Nagant, and it's an interesting first rifle. Wasn't my first rifle. You know, I don't have a Mosin Nagant. I'm on order for one, or on wait list for one, but who knows if I'll ever get one, and if I decide whether or not I'll even decide to. But my first rifle was a cowboy rifle. I got a 30-30 Marlin, which is one of those cowboy rifles, the cocking, the lever action, where, like John Wayne has, you know, those old cowboy rifles that sit on the side of a horse there. I have one of those, and so that's my rifle. It's not some semi-automatic intense rifle. My first rifle was a lever action, and I still have that gun, and it has a scope on it. And got it at a sporting goods store a while ago, and working on getting my hunting license, which is another story. I was raised in a family where hunting was not allowed, and I'm looking to take my first deer someday soon. And I'm in my 40s, but you know, I've decided this is something I want to do. And believe it or not, my daughter just talked to me and says she wants to go hunting with me. My daughter's a very feminine little girl, a little sweetheart. And you've probably seen pictures of her. But she loves to go fishing with Daddy, and now she wants to go hunting with me. And so I'll take the test and whatever, and then I'm going to take her with me sometime. I want to take her hunting and see if she likes it. So that should be fun, and I'll let you know about that a little bit later. Okay, so finally, you know, on the Mosin Nagant, just check out the 3 videos and learn about it. Maybe that's something you'd be interested in learning about and working on and, you know, collecting. I can't tell you whether it's a good thing for you or not. It just depends on what you want. It's not, I think, the right rifle for a first-timer, just because the last thing I want to do as a first-timer is start taking a gun apart into all these little pieces and putting it back together. Now, if that doesn't bother you and you feel like you can do that, that's great. But, you know, the last thing I want to do with my first gun is, you know, tear it apart, soak it in stuff to get all the cosmoline out of it. You know, if I would have gone to the store not knowing any better, and my 30-30 lever action were to be, you know, this military, you know, surplus gun with all this goop on it, and I got it home and I realized that I still don't have a hunting rifle, and that I would have had to do all this crap to it, I wouldn't have been happy. You know, I wouldn't have been happy at all. But that's, you know, that's up to you. But that's something that people don't talk about. You know, you get these military, you know, surplus guns. You gotta know something. You gotta tear these things apart and put them back together again. That's not for the rank amateur. You know, you want to learn you want to protect yourself and just have something. That's probably the worst gun to get, is something that you have to tear apart and, you know, put it back together and pray to God it works. Because you're just learning all about guns, and now you got to hope to God you put it back together and you don't kill yourself trying to use that stupid thing, or that it works if you need it in an emergency. Not necessarily the best idea, in my opinion. Okay, so the next one I have for you comes from the Daily Caller, and that's a newspaper that's talking about, well, there's a blog within it called The Social Reader, and it says, Hannity foresees states leaving union if federal government continues radicalized abusive pattern. And so Hannity is of the belief that, you know, with things from everything from same-sex marriages to, you know, all this tax and spend, and we have some very, very liberal states and very, very conservative states. There could be, you know, states that break away, and they eventually could lead to, you know, this country breaking up. I don't think that's necessarily crazy or far-fetched. I think it would be very bad. But at the same time, if part of our country wants to continue to go so far left, go. If our coasts want to just be ridiculously liberal, wackadoo places, you know what? Go. Go, man. If you want to just, you know, tax and spend more than you tax, and tax too much to begin with, go ahead. Other people, you know, we're more conservative and more traditional. Let the radical wackadoos and flakes in California and, in New York and all these other Massachusetts. You guys want to break off and you want to just have your little, utopias, little liberal utopias. Great, that's fine. Leave me the heck alone. I'll keep my God and my guns. You keep the change. You guys worry about, changing everything and making, lesbian Boy Scout mothers, troop leaders and all this other crazy stuff that you guys are into. And, you do what you want to do, but, as a libertarian, I kind of have to accept that. That doesn't mean I necessarily like what other people do, but I accept it. But, would I rather be in a society where, all these incredibly crazy liberal people are doing their own thing and we don't have to deal with it? Yeah, I would. I'd rather hang out with people from Indiana and Montana and Wyoming and, the heartland. And, I'm originally from, Pennsylvania. And there's a lot of really good salt-of-the-earth people in Pennsylvania, but there's a lot of idiots too. There's a lot of libtards in Pennsylvania that just make me sick. And Pennsylvania, as much as I love that place, and we have a place there, our bug-out home. If we have to saw off Pennsylvania and put it in the ocean with the rest of the libtard states, so be it. Because I don't have a lot of patience with people legislating their agendas, on me. If you want to make bad choices with your life, that's fine. Don't expect me to pay for it, okay? And as, I think Ann Coulter's are nuts, but she does actually make a good point now and then. And one of her points was, I'm tired of subsidizing people making bad choices. If you want to be pregnant at 13, that's your choice, but you know what? It's not my job to raise you and your child for the rest of our lives. You want to make bad choices, but you know what? There needs to be a consequence for making bad choices. Otherwise, we just have a generational dependency. And guess what we have in this country now? A generational dependency. People, think that the government is here to fix all their problems and give them everything they need. And if you want to be in a country that has that, great. That's a socialist, society. Great. Go to those socialist countries and get taxed out the yin-yang and produce very little and not be very productive and live like that. Great. Good for you. But I don't want to be in there. I don't want to be in that country. I want to be in America. America was supposed to be a capitalistic republic. Okay, not a democracy. Two wolves and a sheep voting on what's dinner, but a republic where the wolf and the sheep both have a say-so, but the sheep's got a 30-6 while they're discussing what's for dinner, and he can defend himself. That's my idea of an organization, and but that's just neither here nor there. But anyway, Hanley talks about that. There's some states that just a divide in our country is coming. He believes, and I don't necessarily disagree. Here's something that no one else has talked about, though, that I believe, and I think this is interesting. And I think there's going to be a split within the Republican Party. And I'm a libertarian. I'm on the outside looking in, but I think there are two basic types of Republicans, and I don't think they're necessarily, along the same lines. And I think at some point there's going to be a split in the party. And here's why. You have the Eastern Bible Belt conservatives who are very religion-oriented and very conservative in that way. And then you've got the Western Republicans who are more conservative / libertarian, less religious, less into legislating morality, and are pretty much, give me my God and my guns and leave me the heck alone. Whereas in the South, there's a little more of, well, we're not really digging what you're doing, and we want to kind of legislate a little bit more morality. I'm not saying that's right or that's wrong, but those are two disparate groups. And I think at some point there's going to be a schism or a split within the Republican Party. Those that want a more legislative or legislating morality type of party, and those who are more like me, I guess in a sense, who are more libertarian in nature, who are, you can do what you want, but just don't expect me to subsidize your rotten choices. I'm not saying that all people that have babies have to be married, but I'm saying you want to make a bad choice and be pregnant at 13, well, hope you got a way to pay for it. oh, that's punishing the child. Well, you're making bad choices. It should be hard for you. It should be difficult. It shouldn't be easy for you. You know? I'm not saying that we should make the child suffer. We shouldn't make the mother suffer. But at the same time, you know, we need to disincentivize teen parenting. And, you know, saying, oh, you're pregnant now. Well, here's all these sources and resources for you, and we're going to open up our checkbook, and you're womb to tomb now. We got you covered. You may never work a day in your life. I don't think that's wise. I don't think that's wise at all. There need to be consequences for bad decisions. And I don't think our society places enough emphasis on disincentivizing, not punishing, but disincentivizing bad choices. That's my opinion. Maybe you think I'm a horrible person now, and you know, that's okay. And that's my libertarian in me. Not so much in legislating morality or punishing people, but disincentivizing. Well, you can do what you want, but you know, you pay for it. You want to, you know, smoke marijuana, you go ahead, but you know what? If you wrap your, you know, your car around a tree, or you know, you take drugs, well, you know, there's a price to pay for that. I'm not going to fix you, or I'm not going to make you feel better and you know, pull you out of this morass. You dug a hole, now you dig yourself out of it. And good luck to you. We don't have the resources, and you know, you had enough money to buy the drugs, so you find the money to go seek the treatment or fix yourself. I know that probably makes me sound like an absolutely horrible person, but that's, you know, that's my view on things. And you know, I don't necessarily think that makes me a horrible person, but some of you might think differently. Okay, the next article. Precedent teaches us the left really wants all our guns. This is actually an essay from Charlie Daniels that I thought was pretty good. And the article, in essence, is pretty much saying that, you know, the left really do want to take our guns. And, you know, you can talk about safety and just protecting kids, but really what they really want is our guns. And he goes on to just give us some facts, and it's actually well written for you know, someone who's really not a journalist, not at all. But I thought it was pretty well written, and I thought it was a pretty interesting article. It's really short. You know what? I'm just going to read it for you. Precedent teaches us the left really wants all our guns, by Charlie Daniels. When the Supreme Court, or any other court for that matter, makes a ruling in a case, they first look for a precedent. In other words, to see if there has been a court decision rendered on the same subject in the past, and usually defer to the old decision in ruling on the case. The greatest teacher in life is experience. It only takes one time of burning your fingers on a hot stove to know that you never want to touch another one. The next greatest teacher is observation, paying attention to someone else's experiences and profiting from their wins or losses, trials and errors. In my generation, I've seen the rise and fall of fascism, communism, different experiments in socialism, and the kind of downright social and fiscal foolishness that leads us to what has recently happened in Greece. There is an old saying that those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. There is at this time a huge debate in our nation about the private ownership of firearms. The president and the anti-gun crowd claim they do not want to do away with private ownership, that they only want to modify the existing laws having to do with assault weapons, which can be construed as anything in your gun cabinet of any heavy caliber, and clips for semi-automatic weapons holding more than 10 bullets. I know, cartridges. I submit to you that what is wrong on here is the first assault on private gun ownership. And hang on a second here, I'm losing my voice. Let me get some water. I'll be right back. Okay. A week of teaching and being a teacher, an English teacher, you know, your voice doesn't hold up. They will take whatever they can get now and continue to chip away until all you can legally own to protect your family is a baseball bat. Do you know one of the major reasons the Japanese did not attempt to land troops on the American coast during World War II is because they knew that Americans owned guns and would fight tooth and nail for every inch of shoreline? Hitler disarmed Germany, Stalin disarmed Russia, and Mao disarmed China. The mainstream is quick to report any kind of gun violence, but omit the stories where lives have been saved by legally owned guns in the hands of good citizens. And the stories are many and varied all across the country. Let's look at some precedent. In 1997, many Aussies were forced to give up their privately owned firearms. Over 630,000 were turned in to be destroyed as part of the buyback plan by the Australian government. The total cost of the buyback, $500 million. 1 year later, here are the results. Homicides nationwide, up 6.2%. Assaults nationwide, up 9.6 or 10%. Armed robberies were up 44%. In the state of province of Victoria alone, homicides with firearms went up 300%. Why? Because only the criminals kept the guns. 5 years later, a continued modest decline in homicides was noted, but what has gone up in the land down under over the past few years is the number of assaults. Overall, assaults are up 40%, and sexual assaults are up 20%. Across the pond, Great Britain passed a handgun ban in 1998. 10 years later, many British bobbies are armed for the first time because of the amount of legal guns in the hands of criminals. Have you read about gun bans resulting in more gun violence or seen it on television news? Do you think it's newsworthy? Darn right it is. That's important information. America, no matter what Obama, Biden, Pelosi, Reid, and the rest of the far left say in America, they want your guns. They want them all. Don't just wait and see. What do you think? Pray for our troops in peace and the peace of Jerusalem. God bless America. Charlie Daniels. Love it, love it, love it. Great article by Charlie Daniels. Pretty darn cool. And, you know, for a person who's not a journalist, I think it is poignant and well stated. In a related article, there is a group in Idaho that wants to build a defensible neighborhood. It's called, I think, Citadel. They want to buy about 2,000 to 3,000 acres in western Idaho. And it's going to be for patriotic Americans who believe in, live in accordance with Thomas Jefferson's rule of rightful liberty. And kind of like a conservative, you know, master plan community here. Bound by the following things: patriotism, pride in American exceptionalism, our proud history of liberty as defined by our founding fathers, physical preparedness to survive and prevail in the face of natural catastrophes such as hurricanes, Sandy, or Katrina, or a man-made catastrophe such as a power grid failure or economic collapse. So they're kind of a conservative, patriotic, prepper planned community kind of thing. And, you know, I don't really see a problem. I think that's kind of cool. And if they want to do that, I'm all for it. I don't know how well it'll work. There'll always be some people more conservative or more liberal than others within a community. And, you know, I think it's a place to start. And if you want to live with people who are relatively like-minded, everyone's going to disagree on something. But I think it's a good place to start. And if they want to do it, that's fine. And they want to, you know, I'll tell you what, if this is, that's one community, if I were, you know, a Chinese invading army or whatever, and I'm not saying they're coming, you guys, okay, relax. But I'm just saying, that's one area, I would circle that 2,000 to 3,000 square acres or miles or whatever it is, and say, you know what, leave those guys for last, okay? I don't want to mess with those guys, so let's wall them off and we can just keep them all in there, because I don't want to mess with those guys right now. Let's take over everybody else. Start in New York. They're all sissies over there. They all hate guns. Start there. Start in Massachusetts. They'll probably invite you in for dinner while they're, you know, you're attacking them. California, you know, all they want to know about is, you know, how does it affect me and my tan and you know, whatever. You know, land of fruit and nuts, and I live right next to the land of fruit and nuts, and there are some awesome, amazingly wonderful, conservative, libertarian, awesome Californians. But guys, look at the idiots you put in power. Feinstein and the other one and Pelosi. Jeez. What the heck's wrong with you people? Oh, you guys suck. Shame on you guys. Recall your senators, you know, Feinstein. What's the other one? Boxer? Another idiots. Shame on you, California. Such cool people, so smart in so many ways, but you're run by a bunch of idiots, you know. I feel bad for you conservatives in a liberal state. I feel bad for you. It sucks. You know, you guys are, you know, surrounded by idiots. And, you know, take back your state. You too, New York and Massachusetts, you know. There are some sensible people in your state. Take back your state and stand up to these morons. And, you know, stop living in a nanny state where everyone wants to legislate how you need to live, you know, as long as it's liberal. You know, legislating the way you live, if it's conservative or traditional, now that's evil. But, you know, legislating, you know, the ways to live that are very liberal, well, that's a good thing. And you know what I think about that. They can go somewhere and do something is what I'm trying to say, I guess. Okay, and the last article or piece I'm going to cover with you tonight is from Mother Earth News, and it's Saving Seeds, 7 Reasons Why and dozens of tips for how. And so it goes down and lists some of the different things, and I'm just going to highlight. I'm not going to steal their whole article here. I'm going to link to it. Mother Earth News, I'm a subscriber. Believe in it. Some of it's the earthy hippie stuff, which I'm not really into, but there's a lot of good practical things that are good about Mother Earth News. Okay, so seed saving. Why? It saves money. 2, seed security. And I'll just go in a little bit here. Obviously, if you're saving non-GMO, genetically modified organisms, meanwhile, Monsanto, the Antichrist, is trying to destroy all, true lines of seeds. You have ones that aren't genetically modified, and those things actually probably would be a good investment and worth their weight in gold in years to come. Regional adaptation. For certain regions, certain seeds get along better than others and have, learned to thrive. So you know what seeds do best in your community. You know which tomato plants look better than the ones next to them that aren't. Save those seeds. Those will do well in your climate. Consistent quality. If you're saving your own seeds, you know what you're getting. The joy of learning, and I guess there's something to that. I'm not really high on that as being one of the great things of the article. And I mean that's nice, the joy of learning and experimenting with genetics and all that stuff. I'm not Mendel, and isn't that his guy's name? The monk that did all the hybrids and all that stuff. I remember that from like science class in like 8th grade or something. Anyway, whatever. Explore heirloom varieties. Grow your own heirloom varieties, and you can trade them and connect with other people. And heirlooms that have been around for a while, there's a reason why they're around. There's something to them. You can also save seeds to influence crop traits. You can mess around with the genetics a little bit yourself, and using things that are not genetically modified, but simply through selection and hybrids. A hybrid isn't an evil thing. It's a cross between two. It can be a cross between 2 heirlooms, and you come up with something that's even a little bit better for your environment, and that's certainly cool. Okay, so there are perfectly fine hybrids, and there are heirlooms that have been around for decades or centuries or whatever, and they're good too. And then the article goes on to talk about knowing your seed saving goals. Then it goes into seed saving tips, and it lists talking about open pollination, different kinds of open pollinated varieties, self-pollinating and cross-pollinating, and going into some detail to understand more about that. And then it goes into some more detail about that kind of stuff that really, I'll be very honest with you, doesn't interest me all that much. My wife, the evil scientist, would be great with this. Me, I'd be more like, okay, which ones are the seeds that are not genetically modified and taste good? Those? Okay, give me those. Well, but these are I don't know, and I don't care. If they work and they're natural, then I'm good with them. I'm a big picture person. I'm not a detail person. My wife loves detail. She's detail oriented. So for her, crossing and splicing, things together and crossing hybrids and making hybrids and all that stuff, she'd be fascinated by that. Me, not so much. I mean, I'm interested in the security of our genes and our genetics with our plants and whatever, and with humans too. But that's not really my deal, is going into the details. Big picture guy. She's a small picture person. I'm macro, she's micro, and that's probably why, our marriage works is, I'm big picture person and she's details. And I'm very bad at details on some things. She's sometimes bad at big picture things. And together, we make a great couple, and we learn how to work off of each other's strengths and each other's weaknesses, And she looks to me for perspective on things, and I look for her for the ahas or gotchas or details and things that I otherwise would probably miss. All right, well, listen, that's my show for today. So I've given you some ideas about some things to think about this week. I've caught you up with a couple things that I've been tweeting about in the Twitter sphere. Hopefully you've gained some insight from today's podcast and learned from some things. Just to refresh your memory, some of the things we've talked about: the executive orders to fight gun violence from the president, China being the world's #1 superpower, President Obama declaring we are not a deadbeat nation, although we all know otherwise, Sean Hannity discussing could America break up, Charlie Daniels telling the truth that they really do want our guns, discussing a planned prepper community in Idaho, and why and how to save seeds from good old Mother Earth. Well, to explore these and other topics, please go to my website, Homestead Dividends, that's HDIVS.com, and learn more about this and so many other things dealing with homesteading, home improvement, self-reliance, and things of that nature. I'm Dan Vamus, and I want to thank you for listening to my show. Goodbye. God bless, and tune in again next week. Bye-bye.
This is KPRN-DB, broadcasting worldwide from Southeast Oklahoma, USA, to parts unknown.
Hey preppers, James Smith here. I've got a new advertiser to tell you about. It is ultimatepreppers.net. There's a couple brothers out of the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area that have this website. It's chock full of everything you need and at a decent price. Let me tell you, they've got a Mayday fanny pack kit for less than $30, a Guide 10 Plus Adventure Kit for solar power, 5-man tent for $89, tomahawks, GPS, go bags, so much more. Take a look at it. Freeze-dried food, supplies, you wouldn't believe it. Now they also sell guns online, and they also have military surplus items. Now, new items are being added daily. If you order more than $100, items are shipped free. Now, they also do take PayPal, so take a look at it. It's ultimatepreppers.net. That's ultimatepreppers, that's plural, .net.
Are you sick and tired of having your First Amendment harassed or censored on Facebook? Use no more, as we now have a new alternative to Facebook. It's called Awareness Act. Awareness Act is a social network designed for patriots, to be used by patriots, and is ran by patriots. Stand up and help in the fight to protect your constitutional rights. Patriots can create pages, blogs, videos, documents, articles, and so much more. We even have a unique news feed system that allows you to share, read, or connect with any patriot on Awareness Act. We are a dedicated tool for patriots to use against the tyranny our Constitution is facing. So if you're tired of having your rights infringed upon, come check us out at www.awarenessact.com. Again, that is www.awarenessact.com, the social network for patriots, not potatoes.
Whether you take me for the fool, I know that I can be. Whether you see me eye to eye.
Don't get caught with your pantry down. Try the most delicious Just Add Water storable food from Go Foods. No GMOs, no preservatives, no trans fats, no hydrogenated oils, and a 25-year shelf life. Enjoy it today and save money. Share it with others and earn money. Store it for the future and invest your money. You can't find better food for less anywhere. Made in the USA and guaranteed 100%. Plus, try it for free and decide for yourself at www.lovegofoods.com. To try it for free, go to www.lovegofoods.com. That's www.lovegofoods.com.
The truth is out there. Knowledge is power. This is the Prepper Podcast Radio Network.